Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin. We still have a chance to deliver our presentation for today. So I myself, Nurmadina Waris, together with my partner Dahlianti Endang Rahayu, we present our presentation related to methods of TOEFL assignment under the title Alternative Approaches and Methods. There are four main topics we would like to explain. The first one is multiple intelligences. The second one is neuro-linguistic programming. The third one is the lexical approach, and the last is competency-based language teaching. The first two main topics will be explained by me, and the rest of the two main topics will be explained by my partner Dahlianti. Now let's start from the first topic, multiple intelligences. What is multiple intelligences? Multiple intelligences refers to a learner-based philosophy that characterize human intelligence as having multiple dimensions that must be acknowledged and developed in education. Before the multiple intelligence is well known, the first intelligence test is called traditional IQ. Jadi sebelum istilah multiple intelligence ini dikenal lebih luas, tes jenis intelligence test yang pertama digunakan itu traditional IQ. Traditional IQ ini dikembangkan oleh Stanford Binet, founded on the idenya adalah bahwa intelligence itu bersifat single, unchanged, tidak berubah, and termasuk dalam inborn capacity. However, traditional IQ tests, while still given to the most school children, are increasingly being challenged by the multiple intelligence movement. Jadi jenis intelligence pertama traditional IQ ini kemudian di-challenge oleh multiple intelligence yang kemudian seiring waktu berkembang, yang dikembangkan oleh Howard Gardner dari Harvard Graduate School of Education. Gardner sendiri menyatakan bahwa traditional IQ test measure only logic and language, yet the brain has other equally important types of intelligence. Jadi si Gardner sendiri percaya bahwa all humans have this intelligence, bahwa semua manusia itu pada dasarnya mempunyai jenis intelligence ini. But people differ in strength and combination of intelligence. Tapi dia pun percaya bahwa setiap manusia itu berbeda-beda dari segi kelebihan, kekuatan, dan memiliki kombinasi dari berbagai jenis intelijensi. He believes that all of them can be enhanced through training and practice. Jadi si Gardner yang kemudian mengembangkan multiple intelligence percaya bahwa jenis intelligence ini dapat dikembangkan, dapat ditingkatkan dari berbagai jenis praktik-praktik ataupun pelatihan-pelatihan ataupun pengalaman-pengalaman yang kemudian dirasakan selama hidup. Then Mr. Gardner developed these multiple intelligences into 8 native intelligences. The first one is linguistic. Linguistic is the ability to use language in spatial and creative ways, which is something lawyers, writers, editors, and interpreters are strong in. Jadi jenis linguistik pertama yaitu bahasa, di mana orang-orang yang memiliki intelijensi ini akan sangat cocok menjadi seorang lawyers, writers, editors, and interpreters. Kemudian the second one is logical or mathematical. The ability to think rationally, often found with doctors, engineers, programmers, and scientists. Jadi jenis orang-orang yang memiliki intelijensi dari segi logical atau mathematical, biasanya orang-orang yang cocok menjadi seorang programmers ditemukan ya di pekerjaan-pekerjaan ini, engineers, scientists, or doctors. The next one is spatial. Spatial, the ability to form mental models of the world, something architects, decorators, sculptors, and painters are good at. Jadi inilah orang-orang yang memiliki kemampuan intelijensi spasial. And the fourth one is musical. Of course, with the musical intelligences, someone is very good ear, having very good ear for music, as is strong in singer and composers. And the fifth is bodily or kinesthetic. Jenis intelijensi ini, they have a well coordinated body, something found in athletes and craft persons. Jadi orang-orang yang memiliki intelijensi kinestetik biasanya bagus dalam hal atletik, olahraga, ataupun orang-orang yang membuat sesuatu or craft person. And the sixth intelligences is interpersonal. What is interpersonal? Interpersonal intelligence is the ability to be able to work well with people, which is strong in salespeople, politicians and teachers. Jadi kalau guru sendiri ternyata memiliki jenis interpersonal intelligences. And the seventh is intrapersonal. Intrapersonal intelligences is the ability to understand oneself and apply one's talent successfully, which leads to happy and well-adjusted people in all areas of life. Jadi ini salah satu jenis intelijensi spesial ya, di mana orang-orangnya akan cenderung terlihat happy and well-adjusted, mudah beradaptasi di segala jenis bidang dalam kehidupan, which is very nice. And the last one is naturalist. This is the ability to understand and organize the patterns of nature. So here are 8 native intelligences by Gardner. Now we move to the second main topics. It is called neuro-linguistic programming, and well known as NLP. What is NLP, or neuro-linguistic programming? It is a collection of techniques, patterns, and strategies for assisting effective communication, personal growth, and change learning. It is based on a series of underlying assumptions about how the mind works and how people act and interact. It is first developed by John Greenler and Richard Bandler in the mid of 1970s as an alternative form of therapy. Next in this slide, we can see there are 13 presuppositions that guide the application of NLP in language learning and other fields. Jadi dapat kita lihat dan baca bersama bahwa ada 13 hal yang dapat menjadi petunjuk jika seseorang ingin mengaplikasikan dari teori NLP ini. Yang pertama, orang-orang NLP percaya bahwa mind and body are interconnected. Mind and body are parts of the same system and each other affects the other. Orang-orang NLP percaya bahwa pikiran dan tubuh itu saling berkoneksi, dan mind and body ini akan saling mempengaruhi satu sama lain. The next one is the map is not the territory. We all have different maps of the world. Here is no failure, only feedback, and a renewed opportunity for success. The map becomes the territory. What you believe to be true either is true or becomes true. Knowing what you want helps you get it. The resources we need are within us. Communication is non-verbal as well as verbal. The non-conscious mind is benevolent. Communication is non-conscious as well as conscious. All behavior has a positive intention. The meaning of my communication is the response I get. Modeling excellent behavior leads to excellency. In any system, the element with the greatest flexibility will have the most influence on that system. Kami kira 13 ini seperti sebuah quotes yang benar-benar dapat menjiwai dan dapat menjadi petunjuk ketika ingin mengaplikasikan dari teori NLP sendiri. Berikut adalah contoh penggunaan NLP teori di dalam classroom. Ini dikembangkan oleh Willard and Lohan by giving the example of how teacher might apply and responding to the following statement from students. For example, the student says, "I hate this stuff. It's such a waste of time." The teacher could respond, "Is a part of you saying that you want to be sure your time is well spent today?" Jadi ini adalah pertanyaan dan jawaban yang bisa diberikan oleh guru atas respon dari statement atau pertanyaan diberikan oleh siswa. Jadi selalu dibawa ke hal-hal yang positif ya. Kemudian contoh kedua kita bisa lihat, when the student said, "Everyone says that, it makes me sick." And the teacher could respond, "Who says that?" The next one, "I can't do it. I can't do that." And the teacher could respond, "What specifically can't you do?" And the last, "This is all the theory." The teacher could respond, "Are you saying you want practical suggestions?" So here are some examples of NLP in the classroom. Well, I think that's all for the 2 main topics, and the next topic will be explained by my partner Dahlianti. Dahlianti, time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Ma'am Nurbandina Waris. Thank you for the time. The next material, the lexical approach. A lexical approach in linguist teaching refers to one derive from the belief that the building block of linguistic learning and communication are not grammar, function, notion, or some other unit of planning and teaching but lexics. This word and word combination lexical approach in linguistic teaching reflect a belief in the centrality of the lexicon to linguistic structure, second language learning and language use, and in particular to multi-word lexical unit for chunks that are learned and used as single items. Jadi lexical approach ini yang dapat saya tangkap dari pendekatan pembelajaran secara leksikal, yaitu leksik ini adalah dasar bahasa, kemudian penguasaan tata bahasa ini bukan syarat untuk komunikasi yang efektif. Jadi penguasaan tata bahasa itu bukan syarat untuk komunikasi yang efektif, dan silabus apapun yang berpusat pada makna harus disusun berdasarkan leksis, bukan tata bahasa. Pendekatan leksikal ini merupakan kegiatan berbahasa yang konsisten, harus diarahkan pada bahasa secara alami. The next material, pengajaran bahasa berbasis kompetensi. Competency-based language teaching. Competency-based language teaching (CBLT) is application of the principle of competency-based education to language teaching. Competency-based education (CBE), by comparison, is education movement that focus on the outcomes or output of learning in the development of language programs. CBE address what the learning are expected to do with the language. However, the learning to it the focus on output rather than on input. To learning is central to the competency perspective. CBE emerged the United States in the 1970 and referred to an education movement, the advocate defining education goals, interpret measurable description of the knowledge, skill, and behavior students should possess and the end of course of study. Kompetensi basis learning. Pengajaran berbahasa berbasis kompetensi ini merupakan penerapan prinsip pendidikan berbasis kompetensi. Poin paling penting dari sistem pendidikan ini adalah tentang bagaimana cara mengukur keberhasilan dari pendekatan ini diukur dengan paling mudah, yaitu apakah siswa menguasai keahlian tersebut. Kalau penjelasannya iya, berarti siswa tersebut akan melanjutkan ke tahap berikutnya, di mana ada konsep keahlian yang lebih sulit untuk dipelajari. Jika tidak, akan diberikan bantuan tambahan sampai mereka berhasil. Di dalam sistem pendidikan ini tidak ada batasan waktu untuk siswa mempelajari satu keahlian. Siswa dapat gagal berkali-kali dan siswa akan selalu mendapat bimbingan dan dukungan untuk menguasai keterampilan sebelum melaju ke tahap berikutnya. Jadi pelajaran berbasis kompetensi ini pembelajaran yang tidak diukur berdasarkan jumlah jam yang dihabiskan, tetapi berdasarkan apakah siswa menguasai kompetensi yang direncanakan. Di sini ada 8 poin yang harus dicapai dalam pembelajaran the lexical approach. 1986 provides use of review of factor involved in the implementation of civil program is ASA identifies a key feature. Yang pertama itu fokus on successful functioning in society, and then modularized instruction, kemudian the master of perform objective, a focused life skill, and then outcome that are met priori, kemudian individual student interaction, and then test performance centered orientation, kemudian continuous and ongoing assessment. Jadi itu ada poin yang harus dicapai dalam kompetensi basis English teaching.
Thank you, Ms. Dahlianti, for the presentation. Well, our lecturer and friends, that's all for our presentation for today. We do hope our presentation will be useful for all of us and will add our new knowledge. Thank you very much for the attention. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So, any question?